You are listening to Veterans Action Report on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you live from St. Paul, Minnesota.
And I'm Andrew Canales, coming to you live from Evergreen, Colorado.
Every day, veterans are struggling with many issues spanning from homelessness to mental health crisis, often leading to 22 veterans a day taking their own lives. There are veterans all around the U.S. leading the fight to help guide our brothers and sisters to a better life. We will bring you stories from all around the country telling tales of veteran struggles and triumph. Every episode benefits veteran-run nonprofits Warriors Next Adventure, helping veterans fight PTSD through recreational therapy and new adventures. And Houses for Warriors, helping solve the homeless crisis, leading veterans to a better lifestyle. What is going on, everybody? How's everyone going? I hope you're all having a good Wednesday. I have a co-pilot for this episode. We recently got a new kitten, and its name is Nala. And she's a psycho, but for some reason, she's chilling. So I got a lot of big things that have happened since the last episode. Last week, I was out doing some training. We were rowing our boat. We're rowing across the ocean up on Lake Superior, which is where we're doing all of our training. And it was a fantastic time. We met a lot of really cool people. All right, see you later, dude. We met a lot of really cool people. We had a lot of fun. This was our first time rowing on the big lake. We usually stay in the channel just because it's a little safer. Yes, we're going to experience a lot of crazy stuff in the Atlantic. However, we just need to make sure we can get the boat to the Atlantic, right? So we're not trying to do anything crazy. Recently, my buddy Chad, who's one of my row partners, who's also one of the Warriors Next Adventure ambassadors, he has he's got a connection with Channel 2 News over in Buffalo, New York, and he reached out to Channel 11, and I was actually just interviewed by Greg Vandergrift, somebody I've been watching since I was a kid. So they're doing some filming here on June 28th and 29th. They want to come watch some of my workouts. They're going to come to jiu-jitsu and check out some of the things that we do. So not only are we promoting Fight or Die and everything, we're also promoting Warriors Next Adventure, which is amazing. So it's another way for us to get out there and just show people what we're actually doing to help fight the PTSD issue with veterans and the suicide epidemic. And I'm so excited for this video or this report to come out. So I will be sharing that soon. I'll be sharing it on Veterans Action Report. Most likely I'll be sharing it on the Facebook page, Warriors Next Adventure, my personal stuff too. So y'all know where to find me. So a lot of really cool things happening. Recently we just partnered with Risen Warrior Coffee. Now I had tried their coffee. They did a roll call one for my buddy's nonprofit, Salute to the Fallen, down in Iowa. And it was great. I thought the coffee was awesome. And after the whole Black Rifle coffee debacle, say what you want about Black Rifle, I think their coffee's pretty good. But I think it was best to distance ourselves for now while they're going through all their legalities. So I said, you know what? I want Warriors Next Adventure on a coffee brand. And I reached out and I said, hey, who do you know who's veteran owned and veteran run? And we got inundated with different coffee companies because we all know there's a lot of veteran coffee companies and t-shirt companies out there. And we narrowed it down to a couple, and we ended up going with Rising Warrior because Kayla and Morgan both are involved in mental health, right? Kayla is a sheriff's deputy, and she is also a mental health coach. She's a mental health professional. Morgan is actually a sheriff, Marine Corps veteran, and he is also he does a lot of the mental health stuff for his unit for the sheriff's department. So they're both deep into mental health for veterans, and so that's actually why we ended up going with them. On top of that, proceeds from every single bag purchased for the Warriors Next Adventure salted caramel. Everyone wanted us to call it D's Salty Nuts, but I said no because there's children present, which would have been funny, but no. So yeah, I've actually tried the coffee, and again, this isn't really like a promotion for them. I'm just giving you my honest details on it. They sent me a free bag of coffee. We tried it, and I thought it was pretty good. I usually use French vanilla creamer. Yes, I am kind of a wuss. I'm Air Force. I need my creamer. Leave me alone. So I got some French vanilla creamer and tried it with that. Oh, it's so good. It's got like a light caramel flavor. It's about a medium roast. It's really good. So you can actually buy that today if you go to Rising Warrior and you click on the Warriors Next Adventure tab, and you can purchase some coffee and help out some veterans. So all proceeds go directly to helping veterans with the suicide prevention line, and also for all the events and adventures the race season is starting up. We've had quite a few people, which Andy Baseman, who I'm going to have on here in a second, he was actually the first race of the season, and he did fantastic. He had a race last weekend too. This weekend we're racing at Ogilvy Raceway. I'll be doing a debut in the street stock that we spent our winter building. And I can't thank all the veterans enough who came out to help us get this thing done. The whole reason why I'm racing the street stock is because of Gary. Huge shout out to Gary Pischke. He actually donated the car to us. He has really bad arthritis, and he's like, you know what? Why don't you race a street stock? I'm like, well, I don't have a street stock. I do. So Gary essentially donated the street stock to us, and in turn, we built the car for him, and we get to race the race car. So the cool thing is, not only do we get veterans to learn how to build race cars, they get to race the race cars. And then every time you finish a race, you actually make money. So all of that money is getting donated directly back into the nonprofit. So Gary is essentially trying to create or turn me into a really good race car driver so I can raise a shit ton of money for Warriors Next Adventure. So every time I finish a race, that money goes directly back into the nonprofit. This week, we had about 7 people donate to get a veteran in. Every week, when we have a race, we're going to post a PayPal on like Tuesday or Wednesday. And if you want to pay for a veteran to get into a race, it's only $30. If you want to get any name, keep it PG, right? I know how veterans are. If you want to get any name on the back of one of the race cars for the whole season, it's an associate sponsorship. So you can put your first and last name if you want to. You can put any company name if you want to, and we'll print out a vinyl with your name, put it on there, and we'll take a picture and we'll share it. But what that does is it helps us get veterans into the races. It helps us get veterans together. There's veterans that don't race that come into the pits and they have a great time. On top of that, we're always talking about mental health. Most of the time we're joking and laughing and messing with each other just because that's what we do. We are going to Minnesota Wolf Dogs on Friday, the 17th. So if anyone in the local area wants to come, go ahead and come. If you're in the cities, hit me up and you can ride with me. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for what we got going on right now. We got a lot of things coming. Me and the Fight or Die guys will be rowing again July 5th through the 10th up on Lake Superior. So if you guys want to come out, check it out. If you're up in the Duluth Superior area and you want to check out the boat, feel free to come up to the dockyard. We're at the Loon's Foot Marina, which, by the way, thank you to Loon's Foot. They're letting us stay there for free. They're not charging us a dime to dock there while we're doing this. So you guys are awesome. The owner, such a sweetheart. We've met a lot of really cool people that we're going to slowly start to build big relationships with. So all right, I've rambled on enough. We're going to bring on Andy. Andy has a fantastic story. Andy is a goofball. He's out there. I love him. He's amazing. He's a lot of fun to hang out with. He's always just kind of lightens up the room when everyone's around. A lot of shit talking, a lot of fun, but he's got a great story, and I'm going to let him tell it. So what's up, buddy? How are you?
What's going on, man? Salted caramel nuts, huh? Or salted caramel these nuts.
These salty nuts.
These salty nuts. You know, that sounds like a bad Navy joke that we're just going to leave alone, okay?
I thought it would be funny and everything like that, but it's, we got to keep it professional sometimes, I guess.
I mean, we're veterans. Morals, standards, what the hell are those?
Yeah, I know, right? So Andy, dude, you and I met actually at every third Saturday at the Warrior Path program. I want to start from the beginning. Okay. So we're going to kind of do this interview style, but we're just going to kind of go back and forth. There's so much that I want you to get out there that I feel like can really help a lot of people, because what you essentially put yourself through, but also realize that you can change all of that, and you've completely flipped 180. So let's start off with like, where are you from? What was your childhood like? What are some of the things that you've experienced, man?
So I'm originally from Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I've been back and forth between Minnesota my entire life. My family's from here. I've spent half my life in the sticks, half my life in the hood, so I call myself a ghetto cowboy. I mean, yeah, man. I grew up. My grandparents raised me until I was about 10 years old, when my mom met a guy who was in the Navy. And then we moved out. My grandfather's still raising me. I call him my dad. He actually came and rescued me and my mother when I was 6.5 months old from a really bad situation out in North Carolina. And he's who I call my dad.
What happened there?
The guy my mom was married to, who was in the Army, was abusive, highly abusive, physically and mentally. And she called him one night when he was out on FTX, and him and my uncle drove out and picked us up in a U-Haul and brought us back when I was 6.5 months old.
Nice. So you spent the majority of your childhood in Minneapolis?
No, actually, bouncing around between Minnetonka, Carver County area, and the cities. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're in Carver. What city? Like Waconia or what?
Yeah, actually, the city of Carver, city of Chaska, and Waconia.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've gone down to Lake Victoria quite a bit. Down in Waconia. I love that place.
Yeah, beautiful area.
Yeah. So when the reason why I'm having you on, you obviously know the reason.
Yes, sir.
You are how many months sober, or how many months?
I have 22 months and some days.
So you've been a 20-year meth addict.
That is correct.
That's insane, dude. The fact that you've had that much time in recovery and what you're doing now, we'll get to that, and we'll get to that soon. So I want to talk a little bit about, some of the bad times, right? So that's something that's always hard to talk about. But the thing I love about you is you're so open, and that's why we mesh so well, is because, I'm very open about everything too.
Yep.
Is because your story can help other people. So when did this whole thing start? How old were you?
I was 12 years old. I blame quite a lot. I blame quite a lot on my ex-stepfather. When I was 12 years old, my grandfather, my entire life, had paid for baseball for me. Baseball was my life growing up. Every single coach that I had, from T-ball on all the way up to self-pitch, had told my grandfather, keep me in baseball, keep me in baseball, keep me in baseball, because at the very least, I would have had college paid for. I was a natural athlete in baseball. I got a letter in the mail after my last season of coach pitch, and I had been drafted to the Babe Ruth League here in Minnesota, which the Babe Ruth League is like top-notch little league. Like those are the guys you see go to the Little League World Series. That's the league. And I got drafted for the age group ahead of me. So instead of playing with the 10 to 12-year-olds, I was playing with the 13 to 15-year-olds.
Oh.
And my ex-stepdad looked at me, he goes, no effing son of mine is going to be a better athlete than me. And pulled me out of, yeah.
What a nice guy.
Yeah, well, this piss ass, he played high school football in Alabama. He actually got a scholarship to play for University of Alabama Roll Tide, so he was going to be Crimson Tide. And then blew his knee out in the last game of the season and lost his scholarship and got stuck going to the Navy. Well, yeah. So, but that's where.
So when did the whole addiction thing start? Like how did it happen? Was it just like, hey, you want to try this?
Well, I was hanging out with some people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with, running around with some gang members, and it was pretty easy to get into. I actually started smoking meth before I started smoking weed. And people look at me, how the fuck did you manage that one? And
kind of went the other way there.
Yeah. Everybody says weed is a gateway drug. Yeah, it's a gateway to the fridge, guy. Okay.
Yeah, I know that well, especially the last few months. What do you mean? So what was the big kick for you to continue? Like why continue doing something that is not great for you?
I did not want to feel. I lost my grandmother not long after my stepdad took me out of baseball. She passed away after a 6-year battle from cancer. And she was that was my world, man. My grandma was everything. She was my confidant. She kept me going. I actually have a huge tattoo on my shoulder that's dedicated completely towards her. And that way, no matter where I'm at in life, no matter how old I am in life, she's still guiding me by my shoulder.
Dude, so you kind of use it as a coping mechanism?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't want to feel. I was battling depression from a very young age, things like that. And it made me not feel. It gave me energy to go do shit. It gave me the willpower to not give a damn.
Yeah. So when did you join the military? How old were you?
I was 17.
So give us a little bit, during those 5 years, right? So how much meth use was going on during those 5 years up until you joined the military?
I wouldn't. It wasn't a daily thing for me during being a kid. I mean, several times a week, absolutely, but it wasn't a horrible thing for me. Well, I mean, meth use period is horrible. Please don't think I'm not saying it's not horrible.
I'm a recreational meth user.
There's no such thing as that either. Oh, I'm a weekend warrior. That doesn't play in my head.
By the way, I just want to tell everybody this is how me and Andy talk all the time. I'm not making light of meth, but you got to find the funny in things. And again, like
exactly.
I said, that's one thing I like about you, man. So So what was the road like getting to the point where you decided to join the military?
So I was it was right before my 17th birthday. I was working for McDonald's, selling weed, selling meth, at a young age. Hanging out with people I shouldn't have been, failing school completely, dude. My GPA was a 0.9999. Right, dude, right. Thank God I had an IEP, and Clinton enacted the No Child Left Behind Act, 10 years before I got to high school, because otherwise I'd have been screwed, plain and simple.
Yeah.
But so I looked at my mom right before my 17th birthday, and a buddy who was a grade ahead of mine actually had just joined up and was, conning me into it. Well, my grandfather was Air Force. A lot of my family was military, and I'd always been that kid out there playing soldier, right? And I'd always dreamed about joining the military. Well, I took the military as my chance to get the hell out of the gang life, the drug life, and move forward and do something positive with my life. Yeah. So I was talking to the recruiter at school, and he goes, well, when you're 17, come talk to me, we'll sit down with your parents. Well, my birthday's over Christmas break from school.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm joining the Army next month. Because, my birthday's December 29th, and we don't get back to school till after the first of the year. My mom
don't you have to have a GED to graduate, to go in the military?
So the split ops program allows you to go to basic training between your junior and your senior year of high school.
Seriously?
And your enlistment. Yep. And your enlistment is contingent. Your full enlistment is contingent upon completion of high school.
Okay.
So you can go to basic, and then you go complete your high school, and then you go to AIT. But if you don't get your GED or your high school diploma, you get booted. No, it's just a separation, under general orders.
Sure.
Okay. But so my mom looked at me.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
So my mom looked at me and she goes, "That's the smartest fucking thing I've ever heard you say." Went back to school, met with the recruiter. I said, "Hey man," I said, "my mom's ready to sign my papers." And he starts laughing at me. He goes, "Yeah, okay, guy, right? Sure. I've heard this one before." He picks me up from school that day. We go home, and we sitting down, and he goes to get ready to give my mom the spiel, and my mom looks at him and goes, "Listen, Sergeant." She goes, "My husband's Navy. My grandfather was Air Force. My ex-husband's career Army." She goes, "I know it all. Don't give me the bullshit. Just where do I sign?" And the sergeant looks over at me and he goes, "What did you do?"
Yeah. So what were you in the Guard, reserves? What exactly?
I was Army Reserves at first, because you can't join active duty until you're 18. Okay. And then as soon as I completed high school, I went active duty.
So when were you in? When did you get in? What year?
2006.
Oh, okay. We're in the same year. I was just a little smarter and joined the Air Force. Peasants.
The pinky. Yeah.
So
hey man, I like your steak and shrimp dinner. So come on now.
They're pretty good. First time I had lobster was actually in Iraq.
Gee, go figure, right?
I know, right? So when did you end up deploying? You said you were in Iraq when?
Yep, 2007.
2007. Okay, so you were in Iraq the same time I was in Qatar eating shrimp and lobster. It was Qatar was awesome, dude. Where were you at in Iraq?
Baghdad.
What exactly was your job? What were you doing out there?
I was 11 bang bang. I was a door kicker.
The fun ones, right?
Yep.
So tell us a few stories about Iraq. Everyone always loves hearing these things.
Dude, honestly,
what was everyday life for you?
Kicking doors, kicking ass, taking names. I mean, I wasn't over there for very long before I got injured and sent back home. Ended up falling in a hole, and we were in what was considered to be a cleared zone. So I got screwed on a bunch of things. I didn't get a Purple Heart for injury, and none of that because it wasn't considered a live combat zone.
Yeah.
But I fell in a hole, tore my ACL, MCL, PCL, patellar tendon, upper and lower meniscus completely off both bones.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. My knee's worth about $250,000.
So what was your recovery like?
Well, because of how long my recovery took, I ended up they sent my paperwork over to TPMS or Troop Med, whatever it is.
Med board or whatever, right?
Yeah, a bunch of civilian run idiot, shows. And they ended up discharging me instead of keeping me. I wasn't supposed to be discharged. I was supposed to be allowed to reclass and, find something that I could do.
When did you end up getting
out? 2007. Okay. So I was in for about 15 or 16 months before I was medically discharged.
Short stint, man. So, when did the meth habit kick back in? Like, what was your struggle like getting out of the military? Because I would assume coming back, getting injured, and everything like that, and that feeling of worthlessness. A lot of us feel that when we get out. Like, so what was like getting out of the military?
Dude, it sucked. I mean, I was 18 years old. I was married, just had my first kid. Well, and was doing something that I completely had no clue what to do. I was looking at being a lifer in the military. Yeah. So my father-in-law got me a job as a union tinner. I was making decent money, but I wasn't happy, and I was dealing with pain. I was dealing with, my anxiety and my PTSD issues and everything like that. And first I just went back to smoking weed, and then I ran into some old friends, and hey, here comes the meth pipe again.
Kind of just went downhill. So what was what do you think it was that was finally like your downfall and you stuck? Because you spiraled pretty low for quite a while. So what do you think led up to all of that? What do you think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, survivor's guilt is a big thing for people that either get out early or they don't deploy and one of their friends deploy, and then you have to sit there and live with the fact that your friends are deployed and you're not there. I felt that for the first 2 or 3 years. I still had guys that I trained deploying, doing my job, and I'm like, I should be there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, dude, it sucked. I ended up, I don't know of any of the guys from my unit that I deployed with, dying over there or from suicide, but I ended up losing 3 of my brothers from basic training, 2 to the war and one to the 22. Yeah. And it sucked. It killed. I ended up being on the burial detail to my buddy that died on the 22. His mom emailed me and ended up spending a couple days on the phone with her, and went down to Iowa where he was from and put on the uniform for one last time because I was discharged at that point. But I put my uniform on for one last time and ended up being on the burial detail, and that killed. I mean, that really hurt.
I can't imagine that. So what was the time frame when were you like at your lowest? Because I know you had talked a little bit about some of the fun activities you were doing while you were in the depth of your meth use. Because I really would like to dig into some of that.
Yeah, man. So I spent after my divorce, I spent majority of up until just shy of 2 years ago now homeless. And I mean, there was about a year and a half break when I was with my second baby mama where I wasn't homeless because I was living with her. But outside of that, yeah, dude, I was homeless. I used meth to cope with that. I used meth to pay my bills. I used meth to stay alive. As long as I had
quite a bit.
Oh yeah. As long as I had a bag of dope in my pocket, I pretty much had a couch to sleep on. Oh, excuse me.
The good thing is you learned some really good entrepreneurial skills.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a plus side to everything, man.
The nice thing is the drug sells itself. It really does. It's
now
it's
we're not trying to hype up meth. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
For all the people that are gonna take my words and turn it into something else. So what did you ever feel like scared for your life for some of the things that you were doing? Because I know you were getting to the point where you were actually starting to really get to the point where you're going to spend some serious jail time, right?
So in 2019 I got raided. I was staying at a hotel with my wife, and I just gotten back from being gone all night doing stupid shit.
Mhm.
And I took my clothes off. I was getting ready to jump in the shower. Sarah was at the store, and I was hitting the pipe a couple of times, about to jump in the shower, and all of a sudden I hear police search warrant, and they batter rammed my door.
Oof.
And just blew the whole thing apart. Big old fat cop comes in, can't even button his IBA. I mean, that's how fat he was. Puts a 12 gauge shotgun in my face. Get on the floor, get on the floor, get on the floor.
Man.
So I get down and I'm army crawling out the door, come to the sound of my voice, come to the sound of my voice. And I'm laughing at the cops. And the cops are like, what's funny? I said, you guys are. And they're like, well, what's funny about us? I said, if you would have knocked, I'd have just answered the door. Oh, yeah, you know how many times we've heard that one?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who do you think I am, guy? And they're like, well, we know you have a gun. No, I don't. Sorry.
Well, to be fair, you were a meth dealer, so
You're right.
You never know.
Luckily, to my avail, I didn't have a scale with me, so they couldn't get me for sales. All they could get me for was a possession charge.
Yeah.
So that played to my favor. But so I ended up getting that charge. Get on probation. It took me a year of being on probation, and 3 treatments to finally pull my head out of my ass.
So let's talk about some of the treatments that you went through. What do you think was, so let's talk about your first one.
Yep.
There's a lot of veterans who I help get into treatment, right? And then we'll talk about the Warrior Recovery Network here in a few too. But for other veterans out there who may be struggling with not even just meth, but like just mental health, alcohol, why do you think that your first time in recovery didn't work for you? Is it because you weren't ready, or
100% was not ready. They say you can't force somebody to be ready to get sober, and that's, I mean, there's certain cases where it can work, where you force somebody, you can scare the hell out of them, you can do all sorts of things, to force them to be ready. But I wasn't ready. I went to RRTP up in St. Cloud. And
talk a little bit about RRTP, because there's a lot of veterans who I've sent there and also talked to about that.
So great mental health program, shit addiction counseling program.
Really?
I will say, yeah, I will say that right now. Their mental health program, second to none. Their addiction program is junk. I mean, I would not recommend any addict.
Why do you think that is? Like, what do you think that they're lacking?
Yeah.
Because anything can be improved, so like maybe this is something that we work on,
They're so much more focused on the mental health side of somebody's addiction, especially if you have a co-occurring, which co-occurring means you have mental health and addiction issues.
Yeah,
which
like
is
depression and addiction.
Right, which is what myself and about 95% of other veteran addicts have, is they're going to be listed as, they're going to be listed as a co-occurring. So they shove mental health down your throat and throw in one addiction class. Well, how am I supposed to learn about my addiction issues and deal with my addiction issues if the only thing you're trying to throw down my throat is my mental health stuff?
Yeah. That makes sense. So after RRTP, that was your second time in recovery?
No, our RRTP was my first time, first time in the year.
So that was more so focused on mental health, though, not so much like the actual addiction. Okay.
Yep. So I did 28 days there. Got out, made it about 5 days before I started using again, because I had nowhere to go and things like that. Things were not great between me and Sarah. We had broken up. She went back to her ex-boyfriend, so I was dealing with, with the loss of a relationship and on top, other things. Went back to using. PO caught up with me. She's like, all right, well, we got to figure something out here again, because they kept putting me back into jail for failing UAs. And they ended up saying, well, let's send you down to the Des Moines, Iowa DOM program at the Des Moines, Iowa VA. I spent 56 days down there. That program is phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. Their co-occurring program down there splits it up beautifully. I'd say it's a good. You
said 50... it's called a co-occurring. So like codependency stuff, or what?
Yep. So it's called a co-occurring addiction. So you have mental health mixed with the addiction, and your addiction issues have an underlying of mental health.
Okay. I'm just writing some notes down. I'm going to ask you later, but I at least want to remember what to ask you. You know how my brain works.
Oh, absolutely. I won't smoke, but I'm going to hit my vape on.
No, that's okay. I'm not against that. So after your second time out, like did it help at all? Like was there any kind of improvement?
Yeah, so I got back from that one. I ended up making it 2 weeks. I think that one would have stuck had it not been that I came back. Me and Sarah had been back together for a while at this point, or a good while at that point actually. But I came back to having to pay for her addiction, you know. And if I'm going to pay for somebody's addiction, it's not going to be long before.
Yeah. I'm not going to buy somebody a pizza and not eat a slice,
Exactly. But so I managed to skate through because they shut the government down. They shut UAs down, and they couldn't do anything. So I was able to skate through that. Well, then come the end of summer there, they started doing UAs again. Well, now I got to.
Was this?
This was 2020.
Okay.
So now I got to bite the bullet and pull a story out of my ass to my PO. So I did go to court, and I begged and pleaded with the judge. I said, I've got a plan. I've got to do something. And she goes, okay, what's that? I said, let me do one more treatment, because my PO was done. She was absolutely done with me. She was about to pull my probation, which would have sucked because I have a state of adjudication on a 3rd-degree possession of methamphetamines and a 1st-degree criminal destruction of property. Okay. I was looking at 36 to 96 months.
Oh man,
for those two charges. Yeah.
And the problem with like the jail system too, it's like, everybody I've talked, so a lot of veterans have been to jail, right? So the good thing for me is I usually talk to those people and we figure out like what would actually help. And so a lot of people saying that the prison system they're not actually trying to help people. They're just punishing them,
Yeah, there's no reformation in prison.
And that would have been terrible for you.
Yeah. So, and luckily enough, I was in vets court. So, the state of Minnesota actually has made it a law now that all counties offer a veteran court program. Now, does that mean every county has that program in it yet? No, but
Anoka County is probably the best one we have.
Anoka County Veterans Court program is great. I'm in the Hennepin County Vets Court.
Can you get me some connections down there so I can actually maybe have one of them on here so we could talk about Vets Court?
Yeah, dude, you got my PO's information.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And speaking of which, you got to email my PO so we can go out of town on the 23rd.
Remind me afterwards. I'll do it as soon as we're done with this.
Right on. Sorry, I know sidetrack, but we all know how your brain works. So
it's squirrel brain, man. Huh?
But because of COVID, they weren't. Well, let me rephrase this. Vets Court does not focus on putting veterans in jail because it does us zero good.
Yep.
None. They've noticed that. Well,
this teaches us how to become better criminals.
Right. So I was able to pull out one more treatment, and under the pretense of, if this one doesn't work, game over. I'm going to prison.
Where did you go for that third one?
I went to Park Avenue here in Minneapolis, which I absolutely preach about these people.
You've been back and actually spoke to some of the groups that are still there, right?
Yep. So, but this was prior to my counselor that was there leaving. When I was about 6 months sober, she started having me come back monthly and speaking to her new group that was there. And that's where I started getting this love and this drive for helping other addicts, for talking about my story, talking about what I've been through, talking about my experiences in treatment, just helping.
And what mental barriers you were setting for yourself, right? Because we put ourselves in internal prisons and we are the ones that limit ourselves, right? And like I said, I just had that interview with Care 11 News, and one of the quotes that I said to him, he's like, yeah, I like that, is, I've said this to you before, I'm sure, but the only limits we have in life are the ones that we set for ourselves. And usually when you go to a treatment program, you go to something, it's not working because you're saying it's not going to work. If you say something's not going to work, you're guaranteed it's not going to. But if you hope it's going to, and you try and you actually say this will work, it will. You have to be the one that actually controls everything. So, that's why I like the fact that you ended up going to shortly afterwards. How me and you met was actually through every third Saturday has a program called the Warrior Path. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I've worked with them for a while, but you went through the program. So I want you to talk about what that is and what they do.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. So
Sure, go ahead.
Probably the biggest push that I had outside the threat of prison for my last treatment was the day before I was supposed to turn myself into treatment. My grandmother had just died. And it wrecked me. Well, I made a promise that day, and you don't break a death promise. I promised my grandmother that this was it. I was going to do it, and it was done, because no matter what, my grandma and my grandfather had always been there for me. They never left me in the dark. They never separated themselves from me, no matter how bad my addiction was. And all my grandma wanted to see was me get healthy, and I did. So I made that promise, and you don't break a death promise. End of story. We all know how that goes. Buddies, family, when you make a promise on a deathbed, that promise keeps. End of story. And I did. And that, that was probably my bigger push than prison, because you don't break a death promise.
Yeah.
So Warriors Path. Yeah, Warriors Path. Awesome program. It's a 5-week program. It focuses on growth through traumatic post-traumatic growth. Yes, thank you. There you go. They teach you all. There's some religious aspect to it, which to each their own. We're not going to go on. We don't talk religion or politics. That's just a general rule. How do you start a fight? Talk religion or politics?
I keep my opinions to myself. So
exactly. So there's some religious stuff there, but that's because every third Saturday is a faith-based nonprofit.
And dude, Tom is literally one of the sweetest dudes I've ever met in my life. He's a Marine and was like a badass, and now he's like one of the most humble, respectful, nice people. I love him so
absolutely.
much. He's great. So John is one of the guys who runs the program, the Warriors Path program. He's great. He ended up bringing me in. When did you were the first class? When did you take?
No, I think you were I was the second class you had came to spoke to, I believe. I was cohort. I was cohort 4. And I think you came into cohort 3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're right.
So, and John is the human embodiment of JB80.
Dude, he's got so much energy, man. Every time I see him, he's like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" I was like, "God, fucking slow down, man. Whoa, you got more energy than I do."
And for those of you who don't know what JB80 is, it's aviation fuel, high octane aviation.
But it's great. He's such a good motivator. That's why I like him. So I met John. I think it was back in February. I went through and I just went to go. All I did was just go to drop off some clothes, and I walked in, and Tom's wife was there, and they were doing the boot drive, the boot giveaway, and
so that would have been in November.
Oh wow, God, my dates are all messed up. So yeah, we went in November, and during the November timeframe, they were doing a boot giveaway where Red Wing and Irish Setter comes out and donates like 100 boots for homeless veterans.
More like 350.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. So I sat there and I fitted I think it was like 250 veterans for new boots. And it was great just to be there and be involved. I didn't want to be involved. That wasn't my intention. But while I was there, I talked to John, told him what I did. And he's like, "Man, you need to come speak at the Warriors Path." I'm like, "Hell yeah, I love speaking." Because I had already been a motivational speaker. I've been speaking for about 3 years now. And I was like, "Well, yeah, why don't I try a classroom setting?" So when you were in the class, it was actually my second time doing the classroom setting speech of the 6 principles. And the main thing about that speech is getting people to realize that nobody else has all of the power to heal yourself. There's nothing else, no drug, no person, no counselor, nothing that can heal you but you. Everything else is just there to assist you. You have to do the work. And that's why me and you really hit it off afterwards, right? So how many months sober have you been again?
22 months, when I was in Warriors Path, I had just hit my 17-month mark.
Yeah.
And I created my own little bubble in my sobriety. Like that was it was my safe zone. I didn't really go out. I'd go disc golfing or go hang out with my brother Derek, who you've met.
Yeah.
Derek's
a goofy mofo.
I love that English bastard. I love him to death.
He's an English Royal Air Force veteran, so
yeah,
he gets along
he
with
was
us well.
British Royal Air Force. Yep. He was a fighter pilot for the RAF actually, but
yeah, awesome. Dude.
So I needed to do something, and my PO had been pushing me since the first cohort to go do this. Well, I finally decided to do it. I learned more about myself in that 5 weeks than I had in 33 years of living. I actually teared up, because during graduation day, they actually give you, they give each vet a few minutes to speak. And I teared up when I was talking about it.
Man, I really wanted to go. I was out of town though.
It's all good, brother. It's on the ETS webpage. You can see it.
No, I wanted to be there though, man.
I know it would have been awesome.
I get a really close connection with everybody when I do those speeches. Like Melissa was one of them. I could tell when I was speaking. I can tell when I'm digging into somebody's soul.
Yep,
and I can see it, and it really affected her and a lot of people.
The second you started talking about wolves, that's when you got me, bro. Because I mean, you saw me up at the Wolf Dogs, man. I was just in seventh heaven.
I still remember when I said that we have a wolf sanctuary. You were looking down and you went, like, you fucking shot your eyes up so quick, and I was like, "Are you interested?" Like,
well, see, I'm 60% Native American, and my spirit animal is the wolf. I've got 4 wolf tattoos on me, bro. Like,
I've seen them.
The one
on your butt's really weird, though.
Why are you looking, homie? We spend way too much time together, okay?
But yeah, so during that speech is where we met and we chat a lot, and then I handed out my pamphlets and everything, and I'm always available. And you were one of the first ones that actually called me and said, "Hey, I want to get involved," and I'm like, "Great." And my thing, I always tell people, especially like every third Saturday, I am not here to steal veterans, right? We're all working together. That's why, like I went to the. I'm so glad you texted me that day. But the Warriors, every third Saturday just had their reveal for their new facilities, so I'm gonna have Tom on to talk about that. But like just going there and seeing how great it is. I'm always gonna support other nonprofits like Project Got Your Back, Freedom Fishing Foundation, Houses for Warriors over in Colorado. Like we have so many partnerships, and the thing is, like, we need to help each other, right? Every third Saturday doesn't do a lot of recreational stuff that we do, but we do. And so, like, it's not about stealing veterans, it's just giving them more options. And so you were kind of the bridge between that, which was really great, man. And you've been so helpful. So I'm going to talk about Andy for a second here. So this dude, once we started talking about the race cars after we went up to the Wolves, you got super interested. You thought it'd be cool and everything. And my goal was this year to finally start the race team I actually wanted to start. Because last year I only raced once. The year before I only raced once. We had one veteran race last year. I'm like, you know what? This is not what I got the cars for. I got the cars to actually teach veterans how to race. And so when Gary came up to us, which you and Gary have created a pretty good relationship too. Love him.
I love that, man.
Oh, his wife's cooking, man. I think I like Leanne's cooking more than I like actually working on the cars. Probably the reason why I've gotten fat.
She treats us so well, man. Gary kept trying to like drag me into something. I'm like, and he goes, "Why aren't you backing me up here?" I was like, "She feeds me."
Oh man, her meatloaf, her taco, like her sandwiches. Oh God, I love her. She's amazing.
Dude, you missed ham steak breakfast. You missed ham steak breakfast on Sunday.
And we're done with this podcast. I'm just kidding. No, she's great. And the cool thing is, once we started getting the street stock close to done, we got the Hornet ready to go. And you actually had the first race of the season. So
yes, I did.
You, my friend, were the first veteran of the race team that I've been wanting to start for 3 years, man. So you did fantastic. You sucked at driving that car the first day, man. When I was trying to teach you how to drive that stick, oh man, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous that you were gonna like rear end somebody and crash. And my whole head, I would never say that to you because I want to motivate you. But the whole time I'm like, oh my God, he's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. And you ripped it, man. Your qualifying was amazing. You did so good. You passed, I think, 2 cars in the qualifier. You made it to the A main, right? So the way it works is
Yep.
you have the qualifiers, and then the people who don't make the main, they only take a certain amount of cars. The people who don't make the main go into the B main, and you have to race again to get into the main, and they only take 3 cars from that one. So Andy did just good enough to get into the A main. And you went out there, man, and you were crushing it. You were taking the corners great. I was actually very shocked at how well you did, man. I'm not trying to blow your head up. You did run over a tire. So, you know.
Dude, I watched that video. I didn't just run over that damn tire. I decimated that thing.
No, I can't believe you didn't destroy our car. But I'm just giving you shit. And then you raced last weekend too, and got a little bump and grind on the track there, which is always fun.
Oh, dude, that track is so short and so tight.
Yeah,
and
you got bigger tires too, so it's harder to turn.
Yeah, and Jake was just like, dude, just because we had some car problems, so I didn't get to race the first heat, which sucked because I had pole position. I was first on the pole in the first heat, dude, which would have been awesome for us.
First sucks, dude. I like being right in the middle.
But anyways, so I didn't get to race the first heat because of some car problems. Get into the feature, and right before that, Jake, who is our ambassador, great guy, love the man to death. He looks at me and goes, just kidding, Jake, we love you. But he looks at me, he goes, dude, get out there and just rip the tires off this SOB. I said, dude, if you think I'm afraid to play bumper cars, and I told you this before too, if you think I'm afraid to play bumper cars, I ain't.
But if it happens, rub
right. And I wasn't. Well, and the first guy that I hit 2 cars Sunday night. The first guy I hit, I passed him on the inside. He comes back around me on the outside, and I go to take my inside line again, and the SOB comes down to turn into me. So I go into the infield. Well, I'm not chicken. I'm not turning into the infield. And I played bumper cars and shoved him straight forward and went back right around.
If I'm turning, somebody comes on the top side, I'm not moving down. I'm staying where I'm at. Yeah. You came down onto me, get away from me, or we're gonna rub. So it's cool though, because like you've been so excited to try this, and I still remember the first day that you came out there. You sat on top of the car with that Rip It can and the helmet, and you just looked so proud and so happy. And now this is for me. I love, man. Yeah, you know me. I get emotional sometimes. I love seeing that. I love seeing the fact that 22 months sober after damn near 20-year meth addiction, and now you're out playing with wolves. You're racing race cars. You personally have gotten us $1,200 from Cedar Inn. You got Cedar Inn to donate to us, and which, by the way, we need to talk to Jim about a fundraiser there.
Yep.
You got CVMA, the Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association, to donate for a sponsorship. On top of that, anytime we talk about what we're doing, you've gotten people, you're a big promoter for what we do. This nonprofit is not my nonprofit. It's my vision. Yeah, sure. But it's a hive, and it's slowly starting to expand. And you've done so good since you've been with us, man. And I'm not saying it's because of us. It's just seeing you in Warrior's Path. You could tell you were working on some things, but there's no action, right? There needs to be action to actually move on to that next point. And then we went out to the wolves, and then you are the example. If a veteran wants to be involved, I'm not going to grab them and drag them with us. You have to want to be involved. Everyone chooses their involvement with this nonprofit. Now, exactly. If you become an ambassador and stuff like that, that's obviously up to me and the board. But your involvement is your choice, right? I'm not going to chase you and make you want to heal. I'm not going to chase you to make you want to actually have these kind of conversations that we have. And you're very open about what you've done. You're very open about the bad things, but you're also very good at saying, that's not me anymore. Now you're a race car driver, which is pretty sweet, dude. And like I said, the reason why I got kind of teary-eyed there is like, I'm such an empath, dude. I could feel everything and everything that we talked about. And then I see you on that car and you look so proud, dude. And then taking that picture, next to the car in your suit the day of your race, man. Like I almost cried like 6 times that day, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm so proud of you, dude. You're doing amazing.
Thank you. Well, and I became a certified peer recovery specialist through Warriors
And
Path.
you got
Warriors
that
Path.
through Warriors Path.
Yep. So Warriors Path gives you the credit hours that you need to become a certified peer recovery specialist. Well, in turn, what that means is I work with recovering addicts or addicts that are wanting to get into recovery. I help create sober plans. I do sober activities with them. I help give them tools.
Real quick, we only have like 3 minutes left. I want you to talk about Warriors Recovery Network that we got going on here.
So Warriors Recovery Network has became a brainchild of mine through talking with you, and what it is it's comprised of myself, Nick, your old lady Mara, who is LADC, my friend Melissa, who is a VSO or a department service officer with the DAV.
She's also got access to national VSOs too, which is amazing.
Yep. Andrew Farrer, who is a preacher and also a veteran. And basically what we are a resource for veterans and active duty military who are dealing with addiction or have dealt with addiction. And we're just a resource for them.
Yeah. And we're not really trying to grow the group. It's just the people that need to know that it's there.
Exactly.
We don't push people to talk or anything like that, but it's like having guys like you who have you have the drive to want to help people, right? Addiction, yes, I struggle with addiction, with opiates, with alcohol, shit like that. But you, man, you've done a lot to actually get to that next level, and that's why I'm glad that you grabbed that and ran with it, because you're doing a great job with it. We've already had so many, dude. The stories that have been shared in that group so far have been amazing, and that didn't happen without you, because I wasn't going to create that. You did.
And I actually work with one of our Warriors Next Adventure veterans, who's dealing with some stuff. And it's great because you've kind of made me the unofficial addiction specialist for Warriors Next Adventure.
Hey man, like I said, this isn't my nonprofit, it's our nonprofit. And
exactly.
If there's something you can provide that I can't, one thing I'm very good at is making teams. So
absolutely.
Well, you're doing a great job, dude.
Thank you, brother.
Like I said, man, I love hanging out with you. I'm excited. You're coming down June 24th down in Omaha, Nebraska. We have a massive fundraiser going. It's not official, but we likely got a Harley Davidson motorcycle donated to us, which is awesome. So we're gonna figure out how we're gonna raffle that off.
What?
Yeah, dude, like a brand new Harley Davidson motorcycle. Yeah. So that's going to be a nationwide raffle. We're probably going to use Omaze. I'm working with them right now. I'm talking to their director soon, but that bike could raise us like $60,000-$70,000, man.
That's insanity, bro.
Yeah. So you're going to come down, help us out with that.
Absolutely.
I'll call your PO. I'll get that done. But hey, don't go anywhere. I'm going to drop you off and do my final cut, and then we'll talk in a few minutes. Thanks, man.
All right, brother. Yep.
Later. Wow, he's got a great story. I love talking to people who aren't afraid to hide from what their past was, because he is no longer that meth addict. Now he is somebody who's actually taking people and helping them get to that next level. And that's what Warriors Next Adventure is all about. I love this organization. I love being a part of it. Go check out Rise and Warrior Coffee. Go order your Warriors Next Adventure salted caramel. It's amazing. I promise you. She actually just started shipping today. So if you order today, you should get it in the next few days. She's very quick. I think I got mine in like 3 days. So go check it out. It's delicious. Again, Rise and Warrior Coffee. Go check out Houses for Warriors. They're helping veterans with homelessness issues over in Colorado. And go check out warriorsnextadventure.com. We're helping veterans all across the nation with the suicide hotline. If you guys need help, reach out. Best thing you can do for yourself is realize you need help and go get it. Thank you, guys.
Perfect.